do your leaders respond to change and adversity? Early in my career, I noticed something strange. Some leaders freak out and spiral into blame, while others step up and rally their team. This wasn't a new discovery. Several thought leaders had already described these two ways of relating to challenges. For example, David Emerald called these two postures victim versus creator. Stephen R. Covey distinguished between reactive people who blamed others or conditions for their lack of effectiveness, and proactive people who took responsibility for their actions, emotions, and outcomes. And more recently, Shirzad Chamine has called the state on the left saboteur and the state on the right the sage. While these authors agreed that the state on the left leads to counterproductive behaviors and the state on the right leads to productive behaviors, they had different opinions about what determines whether a given person will respond to a given challenge from the state on the left or the right. So I decided to conduct my own research. At first, I assumed that negative emotions were getting in the way of leaders responding rationally. But the research data told a different story, one that flipped my assumptions upside down. Frustration accelerates innovation. Anxiety sharpens risk awareness and contingency planning. Anger empowers leaders to demand accountability, and negative emotions improve decision making. But only when these emotions were interpreted correctly. When leaders blamed their negative emotions on external events, they fell into the victim mindset. But when they recognized that their negative emotions were alerting them to unmet needs, they shifted into the responsible mindset. The best leaders didn't suppress their negative emotions, they listened to them. Curious to see how often leaders misinterpreted their negative emotions, I conducted studies at several Fortune 500 companies. I found that, on average, leaders were twice as likely to blame others and events for their negative emotions, instead of inquiring into the needs of theirs that they were not on track to meet. This tendency to misattribute negative emotions to circumstances was eroding leaders' self-awareness and relational intelligence. And yet, I had never heard anyone talk about it. That's when it hit me. This tendency wasn't just a mistake, it was a cultural virus, an unconscious, contagious belief that emotions come from outside us. I decided to give it a name. I call it the mind-heart disconnection virus because when leaders believe that their negative emotions are coming from outside themselves, they disconnect from their own needs and fall into the state on the left. When leaders are infected with this virus, victimhood becomes the norm, emotional intelligence becomes performative, authenticity shrinks, and psychological safety evaporates. What's left is misalignment, disengagement, and burnout. Performance plummets, and work becomes a drag. But here's the breakthrough. This virus can be cured. When leaders learn to decode their emotions, they stop fearing them and start using them as fuel for clarity, connection, and decisive action. Suddenly, people feel seen, assumptions soften, listening deepens, trust builds, conversations get real, and the ripple effect transforms the culture from the inside out. To facilitate this transformation, I identified the psychological needs that drive workplace performance and the emotions that tell leaders when they are and are not on track to meet these needs. I then trained leaders how to use every negative emotion as an opportunity to improve their performance, and every positive emotion as an opportunity to build on their momentum. The results have been dramatic. Leaders take more responsibility, make smarter decisions, build stronger relationships, deliver superior results, and enjoy their work more. My message to you is this. The mind-heart disconnection virus is the single biggest obstacle to building a healthy, high-performance workplace. But with just a little bit of training, you can eradicate this virus from your organization and transform your culture from the inside out.